Alright, in this video I'm going to go over what I did to stop the critters from getting under my porch. Throughout the early spring, late winter, there was something that kept coming under my porch, even though we'd fill in the hole, cover it with bricks and stuff, put rocks around it. Kept getting in here, and it is pretty big. I could probably almost get my head under there. Obviously I'm not going to stick my head under there if there's some critter under there, but I am going to take some steps here to make sure it doesn't come back. So before I start sealing this thing off, I'm going to just make sure there's nothing in there. I'll take my GoPro on a pole here and take a look under. So go into GoPro vision here. So in a straight ahead look, I don't really see anything. So I'll switch the GoPro angle around here so I'm looking to the left of the screen, so a little bit more towards the other side of the porch. And looking, I guess, towards the garage here. Also doesn't look like there's anything under there at this point in time. So I saw raccoons walking around, skunks, rabbits, cats. Those are really the only things that I think of that would make a hole almost the size of my head. But they seem to be gone for now. So what I did was piled up the dirt, filled in the hole for 1 week. So sealed everything up, let it sit for a week, make sure nothing came back. Doesn't look like anything's coming back, so there's probably nothing under the porch now. Obviously I don't want to use like a screen mesh and then have something get stuck under my porch. I picked up this hardware grill cloth from Lowe's, and it's about $15 Canadian for 10 feet of it, so I got 2 of them. And it's 2 feet wide, so when I fold it in half, it's going to go down 1 foot and out 1 foot. So a 1x1 mesh screen all around the porch. And it's pretty sturdy. It's much more solid than something like chicken wire. So throw it in fast motion here, watch me dig a hole, and it's going to be a 1 foot wide, 1 foot deep kind of trench around the frontage of my porch. Might be a little less than 1 foot deep, but that's okay. I'm actually going to bring in some dirt. I'm going to try and get the dirt up to that line on the porch. You can see where the parging stops. So I will probably do a little bit more grading here later in the summer. This stuff is pretty easy to work with. Obviously, I'm always working by myself, so it makes it a little bit of a pain, but once it gets folded in half, it gets much more manageable. Obviously, when you unroll it, it sort of tries to accordion itself back into a rolled position. But as soon as you fold it or put a bend in it, then it sticks pretty nicely. So like I said, fold it in half. So now I have sort of an L shape with each side of it being 1 foot in length. And then I'm just going to walk down the length of it and put it back to about a 90 degree. So this way, if something tries to dig under, they'll hit the mesh. And then if they try and dig down, they'll hit mesh underneath as well. I suppose if an animal gets very creative, it could get all the way under there, but obviously we live here, so we'll probably notice if something's really ripping at it. And that's pretty much what the first piece looks like. So I found all sorts of things like bricks in the hole and stuff. Must have been from when they built the house and just threw the rubble all over the house. So actually those are pretty helpful because they sort of hold down the mesh. So if you have things like bricks, I do take a few boards and stuff and throw them on top as well, just to hold it into position and then throw the dirt on top. There's actually a surprising amount of bricks around my house. And then really the goal here is to cover the wire mesh completely so it's not exposed, otherwise it looks kind of stupid there. And like I said, I will get in probably 1 cubic meter of dirt this summer, maybe 2, and that'll just be to fix the grading around my houses. It's not the best. Over 30 years, the grading's got a little bit messed up. So I do need to bring in some more pieces to get all the way around this porch. So sort of off camera, same deal, just dug a little bit of a trench around where the porch is. I don't need to go all the way back because obviously the porch terminates where it hits the basement wall. So I only brought it back about 3 feet. So I do need to add another 2.5 feet up the front and about 3 or 4 feet on the side. So obviously I want to cover up this big exposed hole where everything's been getting under. So I took a smaller piece of mesh and laid it in there. And to cut that mesh stuff, I just used side cutters. A little bit slow, but it worked fine. You could use an angle grinder I suppose that would work as well, but side cutters worked. So like I said, I take some of the rocks and bricks and stuff and throw them on top of the mesh. And I got some old chunks of board and stuff, basically just filling in the hole. Board's not the greatest because it'll sort of decompose over time, but that's fine. Like I said, I am going to get some more dirt in for this, so definitely the wood and rocks and stuff help hold everything in place. And you do want to try to avoid getting any dirt between the mesh and the cement wall. So you want that mesh pinned right against the wall. I suppose if you really want it to stick, you can get some big washers and some concrete screws and screw it right in there, but I'll see how this goes. I think this will be just fine. This should stop any animals from trying to casually get under my porch, and then if there's something that really wants to get under there, I suppose maybe it'll still get through that, but I think this should be good for 90% of the critters in my area. Overall, this job was pretty easy. I would say it took maybe 3 hours for doing about 20 feet of porch. Obviously, I had to dig it down. If you had to dig further or do something else, obviously it might take a little bit more time. And then since the mesh was about 15 bucks a piece, it only cost me about 30 bucks to do this. So pretty cheap, pretty easy, and I think it's gonna work. And then for that little piece that's hanging out, I trim it back and push it down, and then I do get another piece for the other side. And then for the pieces of mesh that I add, I just make sure that they overlap the pieces that I've already put down, so there's no holes, gaps, and seams in the mesh. So that's pretty much the frontage done. Obviously, I'm gonna add a little bit more dirt here, and I do actually have enough dirt once I fill in this other portion. I'm not gonna bother filming it. Obviously, it's just the same thing again. Like I said, I do cut that flap down so it lays flat, and then just drop another piece of mesh in there. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.